Hey, I just wanted to start it off. This is a trigger warning. I will be not super graphic, not going into detail super graphic, but there were some people in my dreams last night or this morning, and so some things happened, and so I just wanted to make sure everyone is safe. Trigger warning: we will be talking about some sexual trauma, not in full depth, but there may be some triggers. All right, bye. Hey, okay, so this is the third one or the longer one of this that goes with this reading. In the second one, I talked about how you can like do healing work, like working through any trauma you may have experienced, but you can do healing work in different ways, right? Like people try to scare people about uh, mirror magic. Take everything with a grain of salt, right? So I'm not telling everybody just go do it, because if you have some stuff like attached to you or connected to you, you kind of do want to be careful, especially if you're a person like me, like you see or hear in spirit, right? You do want to be careful. I mean, anything you do, you play with fire and candles, you still want to be careful, right? So anyway, but in this specific moment, we are talking about uh, work with self or sex magic, but like um, mostly focusing on that oneness, right? So masturbation, we are grown. We're grown. That's why this has been going on YouTube. We're grown. Masturbation, okay? All right. You made me say it, okay? But a lot of people, especially those who've experienced like a sexual trauma, and it doesn't have to be a pick like a specific type, right? It could even be just anything that's made you feel uncomfortable or icky surrounding your sensuality, your sexuality, your body parts, right? It could be just people touch you without permission, and maybe you've experienced it, multiple times, and so you just keep guarded, right? But in the midst of that, you also don't allow yourself to be close to yourself, whatever that looks like for you. But in this reading, it speaks about someone that I met that I noticed is a karmic pattern, almost to a T, generational or karmic. Well, I think this is mine, but a karmic pattern. And the thing is, I think that this person is the same sign that my future like for real person will be, but there are some things that I have to flesh out and close out, or things I have to practice first, and at first I was so unsure. I was like, okay, y'all, like, I don't understand. You said don't leave the last person angry. I didn't leave angry. Why is he popping up again in a different face, right? And so one thing, when I left, I pretty much ghosted. Like, not literal, like I was like, okay, how about we just be friends? And so I dropped their stuff off to their house, and they were like, yeah, we could just be friends. They couldn't give me an explanation as to why they agreed, which is part of why we fell out, right? But anyway, saying all that to say, they were like, well, maybe we'll see each other again. And so I took that as, that we're not gonna, this is like, this is it, right? And I was like, yeah, maybe. And it's almost like with this new person that popped up, that's exactly where we're picking up at, right? Like, it's crazy, where it's like, they already knew that I don't want to date them. They kind of wanted to date, and I was like, nah, right? But releasing them with the honesty, like, no, I don't want to be friends with you either. Which is going to be hard. It's going to be hard, right? Because sometimes through life experience, right? So through programming, through traumatic experiences, we people please, or we want to keep a person in our life, because, like in my case, not dating anyone right now, or anyone, right, like not having anyone dateable. Lots of people come, which is way more than it's been over the last few months. And if you saw, I don't know if you follow like the TikTok or whatever, but I talked about these stones. Well, since I have been like meditating and like doing my healing work with the stones, I've been getting at least more like possible, like good possibles. But I am a person who's intentional. I don't want to call in anything specific until this specific healing work is done, or I don't want to just rush into another situation when I know I have these other things going on. And so I've been getting people that's been helping me get ready for my person, if that makes sense, right? So saying that to say, you may have someone or something that you need to release, and maybe you feel like, but I did good the last time, I don't understand why I'm struggling with this, or why I'm having such a hard time with this. It's not always a punishment. I talk quite a bit about how cycles will repeat. It's not always like because you've done something wrong or you're constantly being tested. Sometimes it's just clearing out her bad karma, or clearing out debt. Sometimes it's learning about yourself, right? Getting you ready for the big phase. Because when you think about it, a lot of things are cycles. Like if you worked in high school or college, that's not going to be your only job for the rest of your life, right? Like it's your job where you learn skills. It's your job where you learn how to be responsible. You get a little sense of having money in your pocket, right? And then you graduate in theory, and then you get the big job. And then even that may not be your job for the rest of your life. You start lower, right? And then you elevate. Well, you'll notice like as you take different positions and as you explore, you may realize after, so many like level ups or even bilateral moves, lateral moves, whatever, that you don't even want to do that no more. That's not even what you wanted to do. You found your true passion along the way. But with those cycles of applying for a job, working the job, realizing that ain't it, applying for a job, working for a job, realizing that ain't it, right? It took those cycles to get you to the point where you're like, I actually just want to be a musician. And then bam, things work out, right? Where I actually just, I don't want to work in retail. I want to work in banking, or I don't want to work in her customer service. I want to write a book. I want to be an author. I want to be a librarian. Like, it doesn't matter. You get what I'm saying? So in the Instagram post, I mentioned that this one might be a little bit of a little or a big bit of a trigger, like a trigger warning. So that's why I did this one on YouTube, so I could make sure to post like trigger warning, okay? But I had this dream last night after doing my own releasing work. And I know for a fact that this was not by mistake. Now, I didn't share this reading, but I did myself a reading the night before. And in my cards, Sacred Sexuality came up. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, well, it made sense in the midst of my own, like, healing work with myself. In that time, masturbating, right? I never really I always projected out due to my own trauma, like trying to prevent myself from going back to specific memories, right? So I don't watch it anymore now. But I used to watch porn to try to get there, right? Or I would concentrate really hard on like the person I was dating, or I would concentrate really hard on like what I would want my potential like person to look like, to the point where like a lot of times I wasn't even really in the present. I was in the present taking care of business, but I was very away, right? Because I'm focused on something else or someone else, right? And it last night I literally had that aha moment. Like, I've never done this before. I've never just loved myself, like just loved on myself, just been in the present with myself. And that's because I have been working through, these years. I have been working through my own traumatic experiences, right? And I say that with a smile because I never thought I would get on camera and be this detailed or graphic with anybody. That I think anybody that closely know or knew me would say the same thing. Like, what? Yeah. But in the dream, uh, there was a woman whose grandmother would make the kids touch her. There were brick houses. The woman who was telling her story was darker skinned. She had on a bonnet. It was like a, and now bonnet, it could be hat, whatever, but it was black here and then it was white around the edges. And then there was another woman who was like kind of like kneeling, and it was almost like a parking lot. I don't know. It was like it was a flat surface, and she was being told by a man. And I put in her life because it may not have been like her boyfriend or her significant other. It could have been someone else, but I heard just let them, and I couldn't remember the words that he said, but just let them. And there were three guys. Like almost like holding him or like threatening him. Yeah, 2 to 3 guys. She was definitely dressed. Oh, distressed. So I saw her like in distress. She had darker hair, and she had on a tan coat. It almost looked like a pea coat or a trench coat, but it was a tan coat. I heard it could have been a sweater. And then there was an older lady I was with, and it was like I was looking through someone else's eyes. She seemed kind of like sad, for lack of a better word. But she said, I don't understand. The younger women, as they age, they keep looking younger or young, whereas we age, we look older. And it was so crazy because when I was writing out what she said, I thought about generational pain and trauma eating away at women's hearts, minds, bodies, and souls versus those who've experienced significant healing. And then I heard through Spirit Lemuria, which I just realized came out in this reading, living in harmony. So that's huge. So if that applies to you in this video, I mean, my channel is small right now, and that's okay, right? Everything takes time to grow. So this may not reach the people 12. This may not reach the people or person that is meant for today. It could be, a year or years from now. I don't see myself stopping this. I'm finally in a space where I love what I do, and it challenges me, and it gives me room for versatility, right? Like when I was doing therapy only, I was talking about the last year. Well, even then, I wasn't only doing therapy, right? I was doing other jobs and things for other people. But in the speaking in the therapy only, I loved my clients. I loved what I did. But the paperwork, the insurances, the rigid schedule, it kept me from like exploring my own self and wants and goals to an extent, right? Because I could have made different choices, like I have. Honestly, the choices that I've made now, it allows me to keep a certain level of therapy clients. The ones, where the insurances work, the ones where I have a couple free people, so I rotate. Like I'll have a couple free people because everybody can't afford therapy, right? Or people will try different therapists. So anyway, but also like people who are challenging, people who are doing their work, right? And then I still do the readings where there's some people, they don't really need or want therapy. It's just having that support or that guidance, or just having that understanding of both the mental health and the spiritual, right? That connection between mind, body, and spirit. So if that is you, definitely reach out, let me know. But yeah, so in the reading, when you look at the flow here, now some of the cards came out in reverse, but I think that was more for me, and then for you, they stay upright. But when you look here, right, sometimes you have to do your own protection work, in the sense that if you know that you are giving your power to someone else, or someone took your power, they could have taken your power. It doesn't have to be through sexual trauma. Like, someone could have taken your power by constantly calling you names growing up. I heard berating you in public, mistreating you at work. There are different ways that people take our power. Now, sometimes we give our power away by feeding into drama or negativity. We know a person is not good for us, like a friend or whatever. We know this person uses us as a dumping ground, or whatever that looks like, right? Or they constantly, I heard they constantly deflate our balloons. Like, you have big goals or dreams you're trying to accomplish, even just big changes in your life you're trying to accomplish, and then they're saying something negative, derogatory, demeaning. Their energy is messed up. Sorry, and and so you feeding into that, or you allowing them to dim your light or suffocate you, because you do have a choice at the end of the day. And sometimes we settle with that type of energy in our life because we don't want to be alone, and we're impatient with the divine, right? We're impatient with the divine, as far as giving us answers or guidance or direction, or opening doors, or bringing us healthy relationships, right? Or helping us attract healthy relationships. And so the thing is, sometimes you do have to take time. You have to level up. You have to clear out stuff that's holding you down, that's holding you hostage. It could be thoughts, memories, whatever. Now, when you look here too, believing the impossible, that blue moon, that's my favorite card. That's one of my favorite cards. I tell, like, anybody I do a reading, that's my favorite card. I won't explain why here. But sometimes to work on, like, accepting yourself, or sometimes to work on loving yourself, you have to say no. You have to say no. You have to believe that you will be taken care of. I heard divinely gifted. Sometimes you have to say no to release your impossible, right? To release your big thing, right? And sometimes you have to say no to protect yourself, right? So you see that flow, it could go different ways. But either way, say yes to that blue moon in your life. Say yes to that dream. Say yes to that goal, right? Say yes to that, I heard that mission, that cause. That's huge. Now, sometimes we can say yes, we can believe in our impossible, right? And things still take a second, or things don't exactly work out the way that we want. It's going to come back, and it's going to come back the right way. Here's the mutable moon. Communication is key. So when we talk about the new moon, when you call in things, you want to be clear. You don't want to have that chaotic thinking, right? That's huge. That's huge. Some of you, like me, may be in a karmic cycle with a Gemini. I wasn't going to say that, but here we are. And I told you about my masturbation process. Might as well tell you, if you may be, if you are in sync with me, you may be in a karmic cycle with a Gemini. Merry Christmas, because there's a whole stereotype about Geminis. Anyway, if you'll notice the two confirmation cards here in the center, inner temple, and what do you need to release? So that's exactly what got us here, right? Now, mind you, this is just a genuine spread. I didn't pre-put this together. I did this for myself as a part of my check-in, like I post on my Instagram and stuff. I'll do a check-in with just me and spirit. Like, I really like to just sit here. I got my coffee or my tea. Like, today I got tea, eat my breakfast, and then just, relax. And, if I have dreams like the one I had, I might ask about the dreams or whatever. How are we going to take over the day? Take over the world. Pinky in the brain, whatever. But if you notice, the two confirmation cards came out perfect, where you got to tune in. Sometimes you got to tune in. You got to release stuff that's keeping you from tuning in, right? If you allow yourself to be honest with yourself, your heart will communicate to you. Your heart, listen, so many people feel like they're not gifted. We are all gifted, right? We are all connected to source. You clear out things. Some people practice in their gifts more, or in the connections more than others. But as you learn to quiet your mind, as you learn to release blocks, limiting beliefs. You know, some people have to make adjustments to like their diet or their substance intake, and some people don't. Some people can use, you know, certain substances. Everybody's path is different. But your body will communicate something, right? So the friend that I mentioned, when I left yesterday, I felt this like feeling in my chest, this like stabby feeling in my chest, and I was like, I feel fine. I don't understand why this is happening. Well, my spirit knew it's time to go, right? But also as an empath, I felt that person's heartbreak because I said I didn't want to date them, right? Communication. That was new for me when we talk about my karmic cycle with this Gemini, right? Like that was new for me. No, just clear. No, I don't want to date you. Thanks. Right? Before giving it a chance, old me would have been like, well, you know, we'll just kind of see where things go. Right? No. Like, you know, you don't want this person, this substance, this environment, this job. Like, you know, you don't want these things. Let it go. Let it go. Listen to your spirit. Listen to your body. It will tell you. Some people get headaches walking in a place the spirit said. Like, you literally will be fine and you only get headaches at a certain place. I heard, or leave with aches and pains. You'll go over a certain family member's house and you leave with aches and pains, and you thinking it's because you're an empath, and it's not. That's huge. Sometimes it's just your that environment isn't good for you. That environment isn't good for you. Or as you learn how to set energetic boundaries, you won't feel that person's aches and pains. It's just a lot going on in the world. 21, sorry. It's a lot going on in the world. But like basically what I'm hearing, or to sum it up, what I'm feeling or senses is there are so many different reasons why an environment cannot be good for you. It doesn't have to be one good thing. It doesn't have to be because there's toxic communication. Maybe you need to do your own healing work and you won't pick up that person's energy so easily, right? There's different layers. But a lot of things that keep us like stuck, right, is chaos. So it's important to be grounded. When you feel yourself getting upset, really try to understand why you're really upset, right? Sometimes we'll be like, oh, it's because this person said one thing, right? So like the person I was with yesterday kept talking about you know, N-words this and N-words that and Detroit this, Detroit that. And instead of communicating the first or second time it happened, saying, I don't like this conversation, can we change the topic, you know, just anything like that, I snapped. And I don't raise my voice, or I don't get, I'm full of sass, right? I'm a very zen spirit, but I can be full of sass. But instead of speaking up sooner, as the conversation went on more and more, I don't understand why everybody talk about us like that. We're the only culture that gets compared like that, and that's not fair, right? Is that fair to him? No. He's allowed to disagree. He's allowed to believe what he wants to believe, you know? But I simply could have just spoken up before. Let's change the topic. So that's huge. So when we talk about that mirror, who or what is triggering you, right? Who or what is triggering you? In a sense, that was a trigger. You know, we face so many stereotypes already. Being blessed to have been in rooms with people that are culturally complete opposite of me, or being blessed in a space like when I worked at the psych hospital, I talked to parents a lot, and so there was always this like stereotype of fear of Detroit, or a stereotype of fear of, you know, a place being ran mostly by people of color. And it wasn't just like white or Caucasian people, some old people too, right? And so years and years of being exposed to that, and knowing that I worked with amazing staff of all different cultures, that would do anything for their patients, right? Within reason, right? Anything for their patients. And then to hear people with these stereotypes and these judgments, it was heartbreaking. It was exhausting. Not to mention all the stuff that happened just over the last few years with brutality and stuff like that. And that's not why we're here. So I'm going to bring it back up in a minute. But just saying, I let this person trigger me over and over and over and over and over. And instead of speaking up the first time, I exploded like the fourth or fifth time. And we were able to talk about it, right? But that getting grounded, that looking in the mirror, sometimes you're frustrated or you're mad at people, and it's not even necessarily that person. It's a system. You're mad at a system, or you're frustrated with an idea, or it's just if you address it sooner, you could move on and get that out your chest, get that out your body, get that out your spirit, and be okay. So that's why in my reading, adjustments are required came out, because they like, Zenobia, you ain't have to snap at that boy. He actually kind of sweet. Why you snap at him, right? And I did apologize for raising my voice. It took a long time for me to apologize. I'm an Aquarius. I'll just leave that there. But I did apologize. Anyway, as you make these changes for yourself, as you make these changes for your life, you will definitely notice like just powerful moves, just like spirit working on your behalf. You will accomplish things that you never thought you would. I never thought I would be on this camera talking about in this in depth stuff that I go through. I don't talk about stuff I go through with a lot of people, and I definitely don't go in detail. Keep it very vague, very surface. Even when I was in therapy, because yes, therapists get therapists, psychologists get psychologists or therapists. Like we helping professionals with what we hear, all the time. It's good to have someone to talk to, right? So for a minute, because of my work schedule and stuff, I had my own therapist, because it was just chaos. It was chaos at the hospital. It was chaos at this other job. It was chaos building a private practice, right? And then chaos in my heart and chaos in my mind. Anyway, I went to see her, and a couple of my sessions, she mostly talked about her. And I love her. I got exactly what I needed, though. So that's the thing. I got exactly what I needed. Like, I would walk into her office and just cry. Like, 5 steps in, just cry. But that's because I don't always have a safe space to express my emotions, right? Like I mentioned, I have a tendency to bottle things in because I am that person that people go to, right? That's family, friends, whatever. Or clients, right? And so she was my safe haven, where I knew that I could cry and get those 1 or 2 thoughts that were in my mind off my chest that I felt like other people would have judged me for. And I know she can't go tell nobody. Confidentiality, can't go tell nobody, right? And I got to walk away free. It was what I needed, right? It was what I needed. So just as you make changes for yourself, as you make those adjustments, as you listen to your heart, you will catch yourself releasing more and more things that aren't good for you, including that idea of perfectionism. Part of why I started doing YouTube with the Faith and Radical and then stopped is I was like, well, I don't have enough interest in this stuff to talk about, or I want to know more about like how to use language, like clinical language, and dub it down for people that don't use that type of language. And I have to know more about all the different spiritual paths and religions and traditions, and then I'll feel comfortable helping people. Then I'll feel comfortable putting myself out there. But how is that realistic? It's not. You can learn by teaching, right? You can learn, you can do your research and study as you speak your truth, right? Whatever goal, whatever dream you have, don't wait for that perfect bubble. Because even if you got your perfect bubble, there will still be forces that try to stop you. There will still be lessons that you have to learn, right? You may walk and think, like I mentioned with the careers or the jobs, you may think that that's your perfect situation, and then no, it was just a stepping stone, because Spirit got something bigger for you than you can imagine, right? But you got to move. You got to take steps. So then last but not least, when you look at intention, right? Now this one I'm going to read because I love the way it fell, right? So it says, intention is simply allowing the will and the mind to align and move in harmony. May I always focus on the highest. My intention is that all God's wishes for me come true. Well, what did I mention that's going on in my life, right? As I do my healing work, I have had to cut people off, right? I've had to quit jobs. As I rebuild or expand my vision or expand on my dream, right? Um, I have to have that intention and trust that I move out of harmony. It's getting into alignment. My spirit is strong willed. That's just how I am. I know this goal is gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I don't care what I gotta do. But is that fair? I don't care what I have to do to make it happen. Is that truly fair to yourself? Because then what about your body? Are you breaking your body down to accomplish a goal? So then you get the goal and then you can't enjoy it because you didn't broke your body down, right? What about your heart? Are you stepping on other people's hearts? Are you dismissing your own heart's needs to accomplish this? Right? So sometimes just allow things to flow in harmony. Where can you get resources or help accomplishing your goals or your dreams, right? Where can you like have that sisterhood or brotherhood of I heard the collective like-minded people that you can help and that you can receive help from. You know, every relationship doesn't have to be mutually beneficial to a degree. Like, it doesn't have to be I have a service, you have a service, and we share services. Sometimes relationships can be mutually beneficial in different ways. Sometimes releasing relationships can be mutually beneficial, even if the other person doesn't see it right away, right? Even if the other person doesn't see it right away. Sometimes that happens, and that's okay. That's their business, not yours. But you gotta like talk and communicate, or else they come back, like the Gemini for me. But that's it. I love you. I do. I love you. You can definitely. So the last YouTube post, there was a discount code for my birthday. And so since you've sat through 30 minutes, I'm just gonna repeat it again. YouTube is the code if you want a reading or check in with me. My birthday is January 29th, and so you get 29% off for typing in YouTube or following the YouTube channel. And then with Patreon, each tier gets their own different discount. And so all the discount codes expire January 29th, 2022, just in case you're seeing this in the future. But yeah, have an amazing day. Don't be afraid to release that stuff. Don't freak out if you're noticing some things. Instead of getting frustrated, sometimes be still, work with spirit, and see what's triggering you, because that's probably part of why that karmic situation or that relationship came back. Have a great day.